raised by Mr. Berman, which is this administration's failure to comply with congressional subpoenas. This unprecedented obstructionist policy, I think, is best exemplified by the refusal of White House Chief of Staff Joshua Bolten and the former White House counsel, Harriet Miers, to even appear before this committee to answer legitimate questions about the firing of 9 U.S. attorneys. As I know you are aware, on July 25th of this past year, this committee approved contempt citations for both Mr. Bolten and Ms. Miers for their unprecedented refusal to appear before this committee. Sadly, this behavior, abuse of power in my mind, by this administration, is a pattern of limitless executive branch usurpation of authority. We have experienced endless executive privilege claims in the areas regarding the U.S. attorney firings, illegal wiretapping, and, of course, in the most notorious case where the executive privilege got to the ludicrous point of Vice President Cheney arguing that he wasn't even a part of the executive branch in order to avoid a Freedom of Information request. These abuses of executive power and the fact that the White House still refuses to provide any answers whatsoever to subpoenas is one of the primary reasons I have called for impeachment hearings regarding the Vice President of the United States. I think it's unfortunate. I think the American people lose in a big way, but I believe by the administration not providing information, but I believe that impeachment hearings are the only way to actually obtain answers from this administration. With that context, I'm curious. Have you been instructed by the President of the United States to enforce or not to enforce contempt citations issued by the Congress?
Respectfully, I cannot go into and will not go into, by way of affirmance or denial, any conversations that I've had with any other member of the executive on that subject or related subjects. I should say that there is a long line of authority going back several administrations, back to the Clinton administration and beyond, that says that the enforcement by way of contempt of a congressional subpoena is not permitted when the President directs a direct advisor of his, somebody who directly advises him not to appear, or when he directs any member of the executive not to produce documents. That much said, there is a long history as well of cooperation and accommodation between branches, between Congress and the executive, in accommodating one another's needs so that we don't have to come into collision in that fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Can you tell me the individual that President Clinton instructed not to even appear before this Congress?
Walter Dellinger rendered an opinion respecting the reach of executive privilege. I can't sit here.
I didn't ask about opinions. I'm asking if President Clinton instructed any individual in the Clinton administration not to appear before Congress.
I do not know that.
Okay, there is nobody. This is an unprecedented act where the President of the United States has taken the position that a high-level administration official should not even appear. And I'll ask it more generally then, have you been instructed to enforce or not enforce congressional citations?
I will give the same answer that I gave before, which is that conversations between executive branch members are privileged, and that doesn't mean that I have or have not.
Fair enough. Should Congress pass a contempt citation, will you enforce it?
A contempt citation of?
With respect to the subpoenas, with respect to Mr. Bolten.
If you're talking about a contempt citation based on Mr. Bolton's failure to appear,
Yes.
in response to a direction by the President that he not appear, the answer is no, because he can't violate that request.
Are you the people's lawyer, as you said to the Senate, or are you the President's lawyer?
I'm the Attorney General of the United States, and it's my obligation to enforce all legally binding precedent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm pleased now.
I'm Congressman Robert Wexler. It is the duty of Congress to investigate the actions of Vice President Cheney and the Bush administration. Our Constitution mandates that the House of Representatives hold vice presidents and presidents accountable when they commit high crimes. Serious and substantive allegations have been made against Dick Cheney that relate to the precise powers of the vice presidency and executive branch, namely war and peace, safeguarding the civil liberties of Americans, and protecting the safety of our covert agents. It is Congress's constitutional role to inquire, to determine the truth. It is time for the House Judiciary Committee to hold impeachment hearings for Vice President Cheney. We have an obligation to ask questions, to determine whether, in fact, the Vice President purposefully manipulated intelligence, bringing us into war, whether he knowingly ordered the illegal use of torture, whether he knowingly exposed covert agents for political purposes, whether he obstructed federal investigations. These charges are too serious to ignore. Hearings will put the evidence on the table, and the facts alone will determine the outcome. We owe it to history to investigate and record the many abuses of this administration. We cannot allow the unlawful actions of President Bush and Vice President Cheney to become precedent for future administrations. I have heard from thousands of concerned citizens throughout the nation who understand the importance of these hearings, both for today and for history. Accountability and the rule of law are not partisan. They are American. They supersede politics and strategy. We must hold all of our leaders accountable. No exceptions. Join this effort by signing up at WexlerWantsHearings.com. Together, we can make a powerful statement in support of truth and accountability.
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it. And that we will in fact find weapons or evidence of weapons programs that are conclusive. I don't think we'll discover anything myself.
It appears that there were not weapons of mass destruction there.
You said you knew where they were.
I did not.
We know where they are. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east, west, south, and north.
Well, first of all, I haven't lied.
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it.
Talking about lies and your allegation that there was bulletproof evidence of ties between Al-Qaeda and Iraq. Was that a lie?
Intelligence gathered by this and other governments leaves no doubt that the Iraqi regime continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised.
Our people are going to find out the truth, and the truth will say that this intelligence is good intelligence. There's no doubt in my mind.
I don't know anybody that I can think of who has contended that the Iraqis had nuclear weapons.
And we believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
Saddam Hussein is determined to get his hands on a nuclear bomb.
We cannot wait for the final proof. He's got him. He's got him. The smoking gun. He's got him. That could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
Colin Powell didn't lie.
My colleagues, every statement I make today is backed up by sources, solid sources. These are not assertions. What we're giving you are facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence.
He has not developed any significant capability with respect to weapons of mass destruction. He is unable to project conventional power against his neighbors.
Our people are going to find out the truth.
I have not suggested there's a connection between Iraq and 9/11.
You have said in the past that it was, quote, pretty well confirmed.
No, I never said that.
Okay. I
never
think
said
that is...
That's absolutely not. What I said was, it's been pretty well confirmed that he did go to Prague and he did meet with a senior official of the Iraqi intelligence service.
Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists, including members of Al-Qaeda. Secretly and without fingerprints, he could provide one of his hidden weapons to terrorists or help them develop their own.
What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.